Let's go back in time. I want you to imagine a street in Tel Aviv, maybe sometime in the middle of the last century. This is a world before refrigerators were humming in every kitchen, before central heating was just a thing you had. It was a world that ran on a totally different kind of energy. The sounds, the smells, and the absolutely unforgettable characters who were really the true pulse of the neighborhood. See, in this world, the local tradesmen, they weren't just guys providing a service. They were legends. They were like walking rituals, these fixtures of daily life whose stories got woven right into the fabric of the community. They literally shaped the memories of everyone who lived there. Okay, let's dive into this. So our first portrait is of a man named Avner, the knife sharpener, or, as the whole neighborhood knew him, the schleifer. His weekly call was this sound that just cut right through the afternoon quiet and let everyone know he was there. Once a week, he'd just appear, pushing this really strange cart that honestly looked more like some kind of weird workout machine. And he was tall, so handsome, with these blue eyes that all the neighborhood girls swore were like looking right into the rivers of Hungary. I mean, every young woman wanted to marry this guy, but Avner, he was always just busy staring at the ground. Well, you see, the romantic figure they all saw was actually masking this deep, quiet pain. Avner was a Holocaust survivor who had lost his entire family. He was completely and utterly alone. And get this, he'd even gotten his job by a total misunderstanding. When he got to Israel, they asked him his trade, but he thought they were asking for his family name, which was Schleif. So the translator just wrote down Schleifer, knife sharpener. And just like that, he was given a brand new profession and a cart on wheels. And then, one day, she showed up. Surreal. A smiling, red-headed orphan who was just as beautiful as she was cheerful. But she wasn't holding a knife or a pair of scissors. Nope, she was holding a bent, totally useless umbrella. And yeah, the other women laughed at her, but Surreal, she just smiled, like she knew a secret they didn't. And just as Avner noticed her, the sky went black and a huge storm just broke out. Everyone ran for cover, but Surreal, she stood her ground. And for the very first time, Avner looked up from the pavement. He smiled, he took her umbrella, fixed it in like a second, and opened it over the two of them. Right there, sheltered from the pouring rain, he got down on one knee. Her yes echoed even louder than the thunder. It turns out Avner learned you can sharpen more than just knives. You can sharpen a broken heart, too. All right, so from a story of the heart, we're going to turn to one of ritual. Our next portrait is Yiftach the barber and his, let's just say, very particular method of purification. For Yiftach, the most important tool in his shop wasn't the scissors. It was his plastic spray bottle filled with what he called holy water. He swore that it flowed directly from the Sea of Galilee through the national water system and right to his tap. It was used to disinfect his chair and, to my absolute childhood dread, to prep my hair for a haircut. Every single time, my mother would put up a fight. I mean, she'd see him reach for that sprayer, and she'd start pleading, "Please, no, the boy is sensitive, he'll catch a cold." And I would try to dodge and weave my head, but Yiftach, he was relentless. He'd just grab my head firmly, look my mother right in the eye, and say, with the certainty of a prophet, "No one ever died from holy water." And then, spritz! This cold shower of so-called sacred tap water. Looking back, maybe he was right. In every one of those drops, there was a kind of blessing, a small, fresh start. Our next story has a little bit of a mystery to it. It's all about Lipa, the ice seller. Now, in an era before refrigerators, Lipa wasn't just some delivery man. He was, and I'm not exaggerating, the lifeline of the entire neighborhood. Every single morning, except for Shabbat, you'd hear the clop of his horse's hooves coming down the bumpy street. On the back of his cart were these huge, sparkling blocks of ice that looked like giant diamonds shining in the sun. He'd cut off a block, swing it over his shoulder with these heavy tongs, and carry it into people's homes for their iceboxes. And all of us kids, we'd follow his cart, just hoping he'd toss us a little frozen chip to suck on like candy. But then one week, that sound of hooves, it never came. By day 3, real panic was starting to set in. Milk was about to spoil. Neighbors actually turned the big communal water barrel in the courtyard into a makeshift cooler, dropping in whatever they could to save their food. By day 5, people were just eating everything they had so it wouldn't go bad. The neighborhood was in total chaos. So what happened to Lipa? I mean, the rumors were just flying. Did he have an accident? Was his horse sick? Nobody knew. Finally, on the 7th day, his cart was spotted at the end of the street. The entire neighborhood rushed out to meet him. Lipa looked exhausted, but he had this faint smile on his face. "I know you were waiting," he said. "I was at a Brit." And everyone just assumed his son or maybe a grandson had been born, and they all started cheering. But that wasn't the story. He meant he was at his own Brit. And then he told them his secret. As a young boy during the war, he was hidden from the Nazis in a monastery to save his life. And because of that, he was never able to have a Brit Milah, the Jewish circumcision ceremony. It was only now, as a grown man, that he finally decided to complete the ritual that had been denied to him as a baby. And suddenly, he wasn't just the Iceman anymore. He was a symbol of survival, of reclaiming an identity that was almost stolen from him. Our final portrait is of a man whose arrival didn't signal the start of the day, but the start of an entire season. This is Shmulek, the kerosene seller. When you heard the chug-chug-chug of his noisy little tuk-tuk and the clanging of his bell, you knew winter had really truly arrived. His call of nefet, nefet, which means kerosene, would echo between the buildings, and pretty soon the whole street would fill with that sharp, unmistakable smell. People would come out of their apartments, jerry cans in hand, lining up for the fuel that was going to warm their homes. Shmulek was an old man born in the last century, as he always liked to say. He worked so hard, patiently filling each can by hand with this old rusty metal jug and a funnel. He never complained, he'd just smile and say, as long as the kerosene flows, life flows too. For him, it wasn't just a job, it was about keeping the flame of life going for everyone. But then, progress arrived. Electric space heaters. They were silent, they were clean, and you could turn them on with just the flick of a switch. No smell, no ceremony. The old kerosene stoves started disappearing from the homes, and one winter, so did Shmulek. His tuk-tuk and his bell, they just never came back. So when the sharpeners and the barbers and the ice sellers and the fuelmen all disappear, what is it that's truly lost? These characters were so much more than their jobs. Avner's story showed that love could actually repair the deepest wounds. Yivtok, with his crazy holy water, he reminded everyone that a little ritual can feel like a fresh start. Lipa's ice was this daily symbol of survival and new beginnings. And Shmulek, well, he didn't just warm homes, he warmed hearts, bringing people together for this shared winter ceremony. And really, that was the trade-off. The street became more efficient, it got quieter, cleaner, but it also became more silent. The noises, the smells, the reasons to gather in the street and just talk to your neighbors, they all started to fade away. A certain kind of communal warmth was replaced by modern convenience. The stories of these men are from a very specific time and place, of course, but the question they leave us with is timeless. In our modern, convenient world, it's really worth asking, who are the keepers of our streets? Who provides the kind of warmth that you can't measure in calories or in kilowatts?